Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
This is my top 5 erotic thrillers. Films that is a subgenre of films primarily popular in the 80s and 90s. However, there's still, every once in a while, there'll be an erotic thriller will come out in modern day, which I have one of those specifically on the list. But it's a film genre that was a big part of my adolescent life, my puberty of coming into a time of my life where I'm discovering my body pleasuring myself in new ways. And these films, in a lot of ways, helped inspire that pleasure, as it were. So let's get into it. I watched a bunch of these this year, and how it's described in Wikipedia in a Venn diagram is if you had a circle that was romance, you have a circle that's thriller, and you have a circle that's softcore porn. And the cross-section of those three things is an erotic thriller. So let's get into it with some hot, sexy films, starting off with number 5, Body Heat. This is a film that came out in 1981. William Hurt, Catherine Turner, a crazy kind of neo-noir, takes place in Florida during a heat wave. Part of the idea of this film is that people start to act out of their character during times when it gets really hot. And this movie is one in which a lawyer, falls in love with this a wealthy wife whose husband is out of town regularly, and they have a love affair, and it turns into him them teaming up to eliminate the husband from the equation. But there are some twists and turns. It is a sexy film. It is a intense film. The mystery aspects of it are a lot of fun. It's just a really, really well written film. The characters are great. Ted Danson plays a lawyer in this, who is, it's just one of the best performances I've seen of Ted Danson. He looks like he is having a blast making this film. But I really enjoyed it. It's one I had never seen before, that I had watched in preparation for this top 5 list. So coming in number 5 is Body Heat. Number 4 in my top 5 erotic thrillers is a film that came out in 1996, written and directed by, at the time, the Wachowski brothers, but are currently the Wachowski sisters. Coming in at number 4 is the film Bound. This is Jennifer Tilly, Gina Gershon, Joey Pants, a lot of people. It's a great movie. This is woman on woman sexy. You have the Gina Gershon character is kind of the butch, repair woman who comes in, and Jennifer Tilly is the hot trophy wife of Joey Pants, and she's being abused. And they form. There's some sexiness that happens. There's some attraction there, where Jennifer Tilly is totally hot on this chick, and they form. They have their sexy time, and they want to get rid. Again, they want to eliminate the husband from the equation. So very similar in some ways to Body Heat. The direction in this, the camera work in this, so good. The performances are so good. You could tell like the Wachowski siblings were, right out of the gate they did it. And I remember watching this when it came out, and I wasn't into it. For whatever reason, it didn't click with me. The sexiness of it didn't click, and I just whatever reason. But revisiting it recently, which I purchased this one as well on Apple Movies. Just so good. Just a great story, well told, great directing, great performances, and super sexy, man. Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon are just they blow it out of the water. It's just such a good movie. So yeah, coming in at number 4 is Bound. Number 3, my number 3 film in my top 5 erotic thrillers is one I reviewed yesterday. That movie from 1984. I believe, yes. Body Double. This is a crazy ride of a film. I had never watched it until preparing for this list, and it was just a crazy ride. So many things happen. There are multiple twists that happen, multiple reveals that really change the story. Just a lot of fun. There's some cheesiness to it. Just kind of the over dramatic acting kind of thing, but it is from 1984. But it's just great, man. It is so great. About like this peeping Tom actor who's house sitting, and gets enamored by a woman in a neighboring mansion in the Hollywood Hills. And it is his journey to try and protect her. However, halfway through this movie, some things go down and the movie changes, and all of a sudden he finds somebody that he thinks might have portrayed that woman falsely, and it is a porn star, and it's played by Melanie Griffith, and it's just a crazy ride of a movie. Just a crazy ride, so much fun. Of course, it's got the sexiness. It's got the craziest bachelor pad ever in the Hollywood Hills in this like spaceship type of design. Amazing. So that is my number 3 of my top 5 erotic thrillers. Coming in at number 2, my number 2 erotic thrillers was not even on my list. Was not even on my list at first. And then while preparing and finding movies to add to my marathon list of erotic thrillers that I wanted to watch in preparation, I started seeing this film title on lists, and I had to revisit it. This is the 2016 Park Chan-wook film, The Handmaiden. This movie is so good. Park Chan-wook, the guy who directed the Vengeance trilogy, Old Boy, a movie that I wish I could find somewhere to purchase. I want to, at some point, watch that trilogy of films by him. But yeah, the original Old Boy is amazing. This one is a period piece of Japan, kind of seeing how the Japanese would use Koreans as their servants, and it is a kind of a scam kind of a film. This is a film where the poor Korean people that are become the servants of these Japanese people. There's this family that wants to scam this wealthy man who sells books and sells counterfeit books, and that you find out that the handmaiden that goes to. First off, there are multiple twists in this film where you see things like the first half of the film is from one perspective, and then the second kind of third of the film, the second quarter of the film, it shows the events of what you had just seen from a different perspective, and shows you that the people who are being scammed aren't necessarily the ones who are the victims in this thing, and there might be some trickery involved. And then the final, it changes perspective one more time towards the end to show what's really going on. So there's like scams on scams on scams going on. There are some sexy moments in this film, woman on woman moments with the handmaiden and the woman that she's sent to be the servant to. The story itself, this woman's at 5 was taken in by her uncle, and what he does is he sells these erotic books, and he has her read these books. So from a young age, She was prepped to read these erotic books to wealthy men in order to sell, for them to want to bid on these books to buy, which a lot of the books are just forgeries and fakes. But yeah, there's a lot of sexiness that happens. There's a sex scene that you see from two different perspectives. And when you see it from the second perspective, completely changes the sex scene. It's so good. This movie is so good. The writing's good. The story's good. There is zero cheese to this thing. It is top to bottom good. I mean, it's a modern film doing a period piece of I don't know it doesn't say in this description what year it's supposed to be depicting, but it is an amazing film. It is sexy as hell. The thriller aspect or the mystery of it is so good. There's a lot of twists and turns, kind of similar to Body Double. But yeah, for a while it was my number one. But I had to reshuffle my top three. For a while, Body Double was my number one. But coming in at my number one of my top 5 erotic thrillers, my favorite erotic thriller. This is the most erotic thriller of erotic thrillers, in my opinion. And that movie is Basic Instinct. This movie that came out in 1992, starring Kurt Russell, Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone. It's Paul Verhoeven movie. This is a sexy movie that not only has the nostalgia from my childhood, from my prepubescent childhood of like, holy shit, that's sexy. It's got a lot of great softcore sex scenes in it. It is crazy to see big actors doing simulated sex scenes. You just never see that anymore. And it is crazy. There's a scene in the beginning, not in the beginning, there's a scene in this movie where Michael Douglas is going down on Sharon Stone. And it's like, I mean, it's hot, it's sexy, it's all the things that you want from erotic thriller. She's an author who is being investigated by Michael Douglas, and because there's a murder that happened that was exactly the same. It was done in the exact same way as one of her novels. She writes these suspense novels where people get killed in interesting ways, and the beginning of the film starts off with the murder, and it's a sexy scene, but it ends with a gory stabbing with an ice pick. And I forgot how gory it was. As a child watching it, the thing that really stuck with me the most were the sex scenes. And of course, the leg crossing scene, which is very a classic scene in cinema where all the detectives are there to interview her. They finally bring her into the station to interview her, and she's completely in control, completely dominant. That's one thing that all of these erotic thrillers have, is powerful women. They're brilliant women because they're like the masterminds to all this. Aside from Body Double, not as much. They're not the mastermind, but Body Heat, female character, mastermind. Bound, women on women masterminds. The Handmaiden, female masterminds. Spoilers for one of the twists. And Basic Instinct, Sharon Stone, mastermind, but also sexy, so sexy. Yeah, Basic Instinct has great sex scenes in it. It is a thriller. It is a thriller. Even the end scene, there's like literally when there's scenes where she is climaxing during sex, simulated sex, but she's climaxing during sex are also the climax of tension in those scenes. And the way this movie ends is like, it's crazy. It's like there's a scene that happens and you think one thing, right? It makes you think that a character is not involved, and then the camera just pans down to show you an object that makes you rethink the whole, like, makes you reevaluate what you were just previously thinking. And it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's well done. There are some cheeseball moments in these sex scenes. There are some definitely overacting from Sharon Stone, but it just adds to the whole. It is like the perfect, in my opinion, the perfect erotic thriller. Has like the most thriller, has a lot of the erotic. It has, the romance. He's falling in love. He thinks he's falling in love with this woman, and he's really intoxicated by her power and her control over him. But yeah, just such a good movie. It was a lot of fun. There's some, before I go through the whole list again, there are some honorable mentions. The Last Seduction is really good. It's another one with a woman who's been wronged and getting revenge on a husband, using her new fling. That one's really good. Bad Influence is kind of like a Fight Club kind of vibes to it, where it's got James Spader and Rob Lowe, and Rob Lowe's character is kind of the Tyler Durden, kind of getting the other guy to do things that he wouldn't normally do. It's a good movie. Crash and Wild Things are movies that I did not get to revisit, but I remember being rentals that I would get that definitely helped. I don't know if I watched the whole movies, but they definitely served their purpose as a kid. But yeah, those are some honorable mentions. Let me go over my top 5 erotic thriller list one more time before we get out of here. Coming in at number 5 is Body Heat. Number 4 is Bound. Number 3 is Body Double. Number 2 is The Handmaiden. And number 1 is Basic Instinct. If you have a favorite erotic thriller film that I did not mention that you think I should check out and that you think should be on my top 5 list, please let me know in the comments or hit me up on social media at Ray Taylor and let me know what you think I should check out. Get yourself some cell phone service that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg over at Ting. Go through my link, inspireddisorder.com/Ting, and get yourself $25 in credit that you can apply to a new device or to your service. If you already have a phone that you love, you could bring that phone over. They support all the major networks. They support all the major phones. It's an amazing service that you pay very little for what you use. They have great plans. So get started now over at Ting by going through my link, inspireddisorder.com/Ting. That's Ting, and get yourself $25 in credit today. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com, and follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!